Chosen one, listen to me carefully. I carry an urgent and sacred message today, and this message is not for everyone. If you are not walking the divine path of God, if your heart is not aligned with truth, obedience, and spiritual growth, then this message is not meant for you. But if you are a true follower of God, if you have always felt different, called, set apart, then understand this clearly. This message reached you at the exact moment it was supposed to. Nothing about this is accidental. God is speaking to his chosen ones right now, and what I am about to reveal carries weight. Deep weight. Inside you is a forbidden gift, a divine ability so rare and powerful that even dark forces desire access to it. This gift is worth more than money, more than status, more than kingdoms built by men. And you were trusted with it for a reason. Stay with me till the very end, because what you will hear today will bring clarity, peace, and confirmation you have been asking God for in silence. Before we continue, chosen ones, like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, tap the bell icon, share this message with other chosen ones, and comment 777 to declare that you are aligned with the divine mission God placed upon your life. Who the chosen ones truly are, clearing the confusion. Let me slow this down and speak to you clearly, because there is a lot of confusion in the spiritual space today. Many people talk about being chosen, but very few truly understand what that means. Being chosen is not a title you wear to feel superior. It is not a badge of honor you show off. It is a responsibility placed on your spirit long before your mind could comprehend it. Chosen ones are not selected because they are flawless. God has never worked that way. You were chosen because you have the capacity to carry weight, emotional weight, spiritual weight, pressure that would crush others. That is why your life never felt light. That is why you were tested early. That is why you matured faster than people your age. God saw something in you that you did not yet see in yourself. Many chosen ones grow up feeling out of place. You can be surrounded by people and still feel alone. You can be successful and still feel unfulfilled. That is not depression. That is disconnection from your assignment. Your spirit has always known there is more, even when your environment tried to convince you otherwise. Let me tell you something important. Chosen ones are not chosen to live easy lives. They are chosen to bring order where there is chaos, light where there is confusion, and truth where there is deception. That assignment attracts resistance. That resistance is not proof that you are doing something wrong. It is often proof that you are doing something right. You see, ordinary people can blend into systems. Chosen ones disrupt them, and disruption is never welcomed at first. That is why many of you learned silence early. You learned to observe instead of speak. You learned to feel the room before opening your mouth. God was sharpening your discernment. He was training your awareness. A chosen one often feels misunderstood, not because they explain poorly, but because others cannot perceive on the same frequency. You notice patterns others miss. You sense motives others ignore. You feel when something is off, even if you cannot explain why. That is not imagination. That is spiritual sensitivity. But here is where confusion enters. Some people think being chosen means being constantly spiritual, constantly strong, constantly confident. That is not true. Many chosen ones go through seasons of doubt, exhaustion, and even spiritual silence. God allows that. Silence is not abandonment. Silence is refinement. It forces you to listen inward instead of relying on external validation. Let me be firm with you here. If your life has been easy, if you have never wrestled with purpose, if you have never felt pressure to grow beyond comfort, then this message may not resonate deeply. But if you have carried questions that no one around you could answer, if you have felt called but not yet positioned, if you have been protected from things that should have destroyed you, then yes, you are listening to this because you are chosen. God chooses people who are willing to be molded, not people who are already shaped. That is why he often removes you from places, people, or seasons that feel familiar. Detachment is painful, but it is necessary. You cannot carry divine responsibility with a crowded spirit. Many chosen ones struggle with guilt because they feel different. Let that go. Difference was the point. You were never meant to fit into every room. You were meant to shift the room. That takes restraint. That takes wisdom. That takes timing. And understand this clearly. Not everyone who calls themselves chosen is chosen. Some are simply curious. Some are wounded and searching for identity. But the true chosen ones never needed to announce themselves. They were too busy surviving, growing, and trying to understand why life kept pushing them forward. If you are listening to me and something inside you feels calm, not excited, but calm, that is confirmation. Truth does not shout, it settles. It brings peace even when it challenges you. God did not choose you because he needed you. God chose you because others will need what he placed inside you. That is why your preparation feels intense. That is why shortcuts never worked for you. That is why every time you tried to settle, life redirected you. You are not late. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are in process. And now that you understand who the chosen ones truly are, you are ready to understand what was placed inside you and why it has always felt both powerful and dangerous at the same time. Stay with me. The next part will bring clarity to something you have felt your entire life but never had words for. Let me also address something many of you carry quietly. Chosen ones often struggle with self-doubt, not because they lack confidence, but because they see deeply. You analyze yourself the same way you analyze the world. You question your motives. You examine your intentions. That level of self-awareness can feel heavy, but it is also a safeguard. God built restraint into you so your gift would never run ahead of your character. You may have noticed that whenever you tried to become someone you were not, life became uncomfortable. Relationships stopped working. Opportunities collapsed. Peace disappeared. That was not punishment. That was correction. God does not allow his chosen ones to thrive in misalignment for long. Comfort outside your calling will always feel empty to you. Another sign of being chosen is this: you recover differently. You may fall, but you do not stay down. You may be hurt deeply, but you do not become bitter. Something inside you always pulls you back toward growth. That is grace working quietly. Even when you drift, you are never fully lost. Chosen ones also feel a strange responsibility for others, even when no one asks them to. You feel compelled to help, to guide, to protect, to uplift. Sometimes you resent that responsibility. Sometimes you wish you could live lighter, care less, feel less. But that weight is part of your design. You were built to carry more because you were built to restore more. Understand this and let it settle your spirit. God does not rush chosen ones. He prepares them thoroughly. What he places in you must outlast seasons, criticism, temptation, and visibility. That is why your journey has been slow, intentional, and at times lonely. You are not being delayed. You are being fortified. And once you truly accept who you are, without fear and without pride, you will begin to understand why the gift inside you had to remain hidden until now. The forbidden gift. What God placed inside you. Now listen carefully, because this is where many misunderstand and lose balance. The gift God placed inside you is not something flashy. It is not something you can show off. It is not a talent that brings instant applause. If it were, it would have been exposed too early, and it would have been corrupted before it matured. This gift is called forbidden, not because it is evil, but because it is dangerous in the wrong hands. Dangerous to systems built on deception. Dangerous to manipulation. Dangerous to darkness that survives by keeping people asleep. God does not place this kind of gift in everyone, because not everyone has the discipline to carry it without abusing it. What is this gift, really? It is a spiritual capacity, a deep one, the ability to see beneath the surface of things, to discern truth without needing proof, to sense when something is aligned with God or subtly pulling away from Him. This gift operates quietly. It does not announce itself. It observes. It waits. It understands timing. Many of you have felt this gift since childhood. You noticed things others ignored. You asked questions adults avoided. You sensed emotions in rooms even when no one spoke. You felt tension before arguments happened. You felt peace before breakthroughs arrived. That was not coincidence. That was awareness developing early. But because this gift does not fit neatly into society's categories, many chosen ones were told they were too sensitive, too quiet, too intense, or too different. Some of you learned to suppress it just to survive. Others learned to mask it to fit in. God allowed that for a season. Protection often looks like limitation at first. Let me be clear. This gift is not about control. It is about alignment. You are able to align with truth quickly when others struggle. You can recognize lies not because you are suspicious, but because your spirit reacts to distortion. That is why certain environments drain you. That is why fake conversations exhaust you. That is why superficial success never satisfied you. This gift also carries responsibility. When you see clearly, you are accountable for how you act. God does not reveal things to you so you can judge others. He reveals them so you can respond wisely. Silence is often part of your assignment. Speaking too soon can disrupt divine timing. Many chosen ones struggle because they want to explain what they feel, but language fails them. This gift is not logical. It is intuitive, but not emotional. It is spiritual discernment anchored in wisdom. That is why God trained you through experience instead of instruction. Some things cannot be taught, they must be lived. This gift is also self-regulating. The closer you stay to God, the clearer it becomes. The further you drift, the heavier it feels. That discomfort you experience when you compromise is not guilt. It is sensitivity. Your spirit reacts faster because it was designed that way. Let me address something important. This gift does not make you better than others. It makes you more accountable. God trusts you with insight because He knows you can handle restraint. That is why shortcuts never worked for you. That is why manipulation felt wrong even when it benefited you. Your spirit rejected what your mind tried to justify. The forbidden nature of this gift also means it attracts attention. Not all attention is visible. Some of it is spiritual. Darkness recognizes light instinctively. That is why many of you experienced resistance without clear cause. Doors closed suddenly. Relationships shifted unexpectedly. Momentum stalled without explanation. These were not random obstacles. They were indicators of value. But understand this calmly. The gift inside you cannot be stolen. It can only be misdirected. That is why temptation is subtle. It does not come asking you to abandon God. Silence is one of God's most misunderstood tools. When God goes quiet, many assume He has stepped away. In truth, He is listening more closely than ever. Silence reveals what still controls you. It exposes impatience, fear, pride, and dependence. God does not speak when noise would distract from the lesson. Some of you prayed and heard nothing, not because God ignored you, but because He was training you to trust without reassurance. Anyone can believe when signs appear. Chosen ones are trained to remain aligned without constant confirmation. Delay is another test that separates desire from discipline. Many people want outcomes. Few are willing to carry process. God delays chosen ones not to frustrate them, but to fortify them. What comes next in your life requires stability, not excitement. Delay matures perspective. Let me tell you something plainly. If God moved you forward as fast as your emotions wanted, you would arrive unprepared and overwhelmed. Pressure without preparation destroys integrity. God protects you from yourself before He protects you from others. Pressure is the final test. Pressure reveals whether your alignment is internal or conditional. When life applies weight, what surfaces is what you truly believe. That is why chosen ones are placed under responsibility early. You learn to manage stress, disappointment, and uncertainty long before others did. You may have noticed that every time you reached a breaking point, something intervened. Not dramatically, quietly. A delay, a redirection, a pause. That was not coincidence. God regulates pressure so it refines instead of breaks. Many chosen ones misinterpret pressure as punishment. It is not. Pressure is capacity training. It stretches you. It deepens you. It forces you to develop internal strength rather than external reliance. God was building endurance into your spirit. Another test you faced was obscurity, being unseen while being capable, being overlooked while being prepared. That obscurity protected you from premature exposure. Visibility magnifies what already exists. God waited until your character could withstand amplification. You were also tested through relationships. Some people were removed without explanation. Others misunderstood you deeply. Some projected their insecurities onto you. That was painful, but necessary. God was teaching you to stand without validation. Chosen ones cannot be dependent on approval. Let me speak to your exhaustion. Many of you felt tired, not because you were doing too much, but because you were carrying uncertainty. Uncertainty drains energy faster than labor. God allows uncertainty to teach you how to remain grounded when answers are delayed. You were tested in obedience, doing the right thing when it cost you, choosing integrity when shortcuts were available, walking away from opportunities that felt wrong even when they looked promising. Those moments mattered more than you realized. Heaven records obedience quietly. There were moments you wanted to quit, not life, but effort, purpose, responsibility. That desire was not weakness. It was the weight of growth. Growth is heavy before it becomes natural. God allowed you to feel that weight so you would never misuse strength later. Chosen ones are also tested by restraint, knowing when not to act, when not to speak, when not to explain yourself. Silence under accusation is a difficult test, but it teaches emotional regulation and spiritual authority. Power that reacts impulsively is unstable. Let me say this clearly. If your journey feels slower than others, it is because what you carry must last longer. God does not rush foundations meant to support others. He builds you slowly so you do not collapse when responsibility increases. Some of you questioned whether you missed your moment. You did not. God's timing is not a window that closes. It is a process that completes. Nothing meant for you can pass you by. And here is the truth that will settle your heart. Every test you passed without understanding prepared you for a season you have not yet entered. You were being trained for clarity, not chaos, for influence, not noise, for stability, not speed. You are not being tested now to see if you are worthy. You are being tested because God already knows what He intends to trust you with. Silence taught you patience. Delay taught you trust. Pressure taught you strength. And now that those lessons are rooted, you are ready to understand how to protect and activate what God placed inside you without losing peace, humility, or alignment. Stay with me. The next part will guide you gently but firmly into the posture that allows your gift to function fully, without force, without fear, and without compromise. Let me also speak to the test of emotional restraint, because many of you endured this quietly. You felt deeply, but you learned not to react impulsively. You were hurt, but you did not become cruel. You were disappointed, but you did not grow resentful. That level of emotional discipline was not accidental. God was teaching you how to hold authority without becoming hardened. Chosen ones are tested by how they handle misunderstanding. Being misjudged hurts, especially when your intentions are pure. But God allows misinterpretation because it detaches you from the need to be understood by everyone. Leaders who require constant explanation lose stability. God trained you to let truth defend itself over time. Another test you faced was internal conflict, wanting to move forward while feeling pulled to wait, wanting clarity while being asked to trust, wanting peace while carrying responsibility. That tension stretched your faith. Faith that has never been stretched cannot support others. You were also tested through repetition, lessons that appeared more than once, patterns that resurfaced, people who mirrored old wounds. That was not punishment, that was confirmation. God repeats lessons until they are embodied, not just understood. Once you responded differently, the cycle broke. Let me address the quiet grief some of you felt. Grief for the version of life you thought you would have by now. Grief for lost time. Grief for relationships that could not come with you. That grief is valid. God does not dismiss it, but He does not let you live there either. He allows grief to soften you, not define you. Chosen ones are also tested by loneliness, not isolation, but the absence of equal understanding. You may have support, yet still feel alone in responsibility. That loneliness was never meant to harm you. It was meant to deepen your reliance on God's presence rather than human reassurance. And here is something important. God tests chosen ones privately before He trusts them publicly. Public failure damages many. Private failure matures few. God allowed you to fail quietly, learn humbly, and recover without humiliation. That was mercy, not delay. Some of you wondered why God did not intervene sooner in certain situations, why He allowed discomfort to linger, why answers came slowly. The truth is this: God was strengthening your internal compass. He wanted you to recognize His voice without dependence on external signs. You are not fragile. You are regulated. You are not behind. You are refined. You are not weak. You are measured. Every delay sharpened discernment. Every silence deepened trust. Every pressure point expanded capacity. And now, after enduring these tests without losing your heart, God begins to shift your posture. Not outwardly yet, but inwardly. You are calmer than before, less reactive, more grounded. That is not fatigue. That is readiness. The season ahead will not require you to strive. It will require you to remain aligned. And that brings us to the next part, where I will show you how to protect what God has entrusted to you and allow it to activate naturally, without force, without fear, and without losing who you are. How to protect and activate the gift. Walking the narrow path. Now listen closely, because this part is not about doing more. It is about becoming steadier. Many chosen ones think activation comes through effort, intensity, or constant spiritual activity. That is not how your gift works. Your gift activates through alignment, not striving. Protection begins with understanding this truth. What God placed inside you responds to posture, not performance. When your heart is calm, honest, and obedient, the gift functions naturally. When your spirit is rushed, anxious, or trying to prove something, the gift goes quiet. That silence is not withdrawal, it is self-preservation. The narrow path is not narrow because it is restrictive. It is narrow because it requires focus. Too many voices dull discernment. Too many opinions weaken clarity. Too much noise interferes with sensitivity. That is why God teaches chosen ones to guard what they consume. Conversations, media, environments, even ambitions. Let me be clear. You do not need to isolate yourself from the world, but you do need boundaries. Boundaries are not walls. They are filters. They allow what strengthens you and block what drains you. If something constantly leaves you unsettled, distracted, or misaligned, it does not belong in your daily space. Activation also requires humility, not insecurity. Humility. There is a difference. Humility keeps you teachable. It keeps you honest with God. It allows correction without defensiveness. Pride, even subtle pride, distorts discernment. That is why God often humbles chosen ones quietly before elevating them visibly. One of the greatest protections of your gift is obedience in small things. Big moments are rare. Daily alignment is constant. how you speak when frustrated, how you choose when tempted, how you respond when unseen. These moments strengthen or weaken spiritual sensitivity. Let me also speak to rest. Rest is not optional for chosen ones, it is strategic. Your gift requires clarity, and clarity requires regulation. Overworking, overthinking, and overexposing yourself dull perception. God restores sensitivity and stillness. That is why some of your greatest insights came when you stopped trying. Many chosen ones feel guilty for resting. Release that guilt. You are not lazy. You are designed differently. Your nervous system carries more awareness. Without rest, awareness becomes overload. God built rhythms into creation for a reason. Honor them. Another key to activation is integrity. You cannot separate spiritual power from moral alignment. Small compromises have larger effects on chosen ones than on others. Not because God is harsher with you, but because your sensitivity is greater. Integrity keeps the channel clear. Let me say this gently but firmly. You do not need to announce your gift. Announcement invites interference. Growth happens quietly. When God decides it is time for others to see what you carry, no explanation will be needed. Until then, protection comes from discretion. Prayer also plays a role, but not frantic prayer, not anxious prayer, honest prayer, conversational prayer, prayer that listens as much as it speaks. God does not need long speeches. He responds to sincerity. Speak plainly, sit quietly, trust deeply. Another part of protection is knowing when not to engage. Not every battle is yours. Not every misunderstanding needs correction. Not every invitation deserves your energy. Discernment includes restraint. Saying no preserves clarity. Silence preserves strength. You may have noticed that when you force yourself into spaces that do not align, you feel drained afterward. That is feedback. Listen to it. Your body often senses misalignment before your mind accepts it. Respect that signal. Activation also involves releasing the need for validation. Approval addiction weakens authority. When you no longer need others to affirm your calling, you become stable enough to carry it. God affirms you privately before He trusts you publicly. Let me address fear of misuse. Some chosen ones fear their own potential. They worry about making mistakes, harming others, or stepping out too soon. That caution is healthy when guided by trust. God does not reveal responsibility without providing guidance. Stay connected. Stay honest. Stay grounded. Your gift will never activate fully in ego, comparison, or desperation. It activates in peace, in patience, in presence. When you are fully where you are, not rushing ahead mentally, not regretting behind emotionally. The narrow path also requires forgiveness. Unforgiveness blocks flow. It anchors you to the past. You do not forgive because others deserve it. You forgive because clarity deserves freedom. Forgiveness protects your future. Let me give you this reassurance. You do not have to activate your gift manually. You do not have to flip a switch. As you remain aligned, it will express itself naturally through your decisions, your words, your presence, and your timing. God did not design your gift to overwhelm you. He designed it to stabilize you first. When you are steady, others will feel safe around you. That safety is influence. That peace is power. Walk slowly. Stay honest. Protect your rest. Guard your integrity. Remain teachable. Trust timing. And when you do, the gift inside you will not only remain protected, it will begin to function with clarity, strength, and purpose, exactly as God intended. Now, let us come to the final part, because everything you have heard today was not meant to excite you. It was meant to confirm you, settle you, and prepare you to move forward without fear. Stay with me. We are about to close this in peace. Conclusion. Confirmation, blessing, and activation. Chosen one, take a deep breath and let this settle. Nothing you heard today was meant to overwhelm you. It was meant to confirm what your spirit already knew. You are not imagining your calling. You are not exaggerating your sensitivity. You are not late, broken, or forgotten. You have been guided carefully, quietly, and intentionally. This message reached you at the right time because you are ready to hear it without fear and without pride. What God placed inside you has survived pressure, delay, silence, misunderstanding, and exhaustion. That alone proves it is real, and it proves you are strong enough to carry it. You do not need to rush forward. You do not need to prove anything. You do not need to explain yourself to those who cannot see what God is doing in you. Stay aligned. Stay grounded. Stay patient. What is meant to unfold in your life will unfold with clarity and stability, not chaos. Remember this: your gift does not demand attention, it carries authority naturally. When the season comes for greater visibility, you will not have to force it. God will position you where your presence speaks louder than words. As you move forward, protect your peace. Guard your integrity. Honor rest. Trust God's timing more than your emotions. Everything you need will meet you at the moment obedience and preparation align. Before you go, chosen ones, like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Tap the bell icon, share this message with other chosen ones who need this confirmation, and comment 777 to declare that you are aligned, ready, and trusting the divine timing God has placed over your life. Walk gently, walk faithfully, walk without fear. You are exactly where you are meant to be.